All right, testing. This is my very first video, kind of a test video. I got to do it really fast. I don't have equipment or editors or anything like that yet, so I may just throw this one up as is. I don't even have a name for my channel, although it is at Pub's World, and people call me Pub sometimes. It's pretty early in the morning for me. It's like 11:30, but I got to get this done because what I'm reviewing is this album cover. I'm reviewing the art, not necessarily the album. And somebody's coming to purchase this album off me in about 4 hours. So it was time to throw this all together. If you don't know what this is, again, I'll show it again. It's called Big Star. Even though it doesn't say the word star, you can tell. Big Star. Here's the back. There's the name and the name of the album, #1 record. So these guys were not lacking for confidence. They really did think that they had the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'm not going to discuss the music too much, but it is a lot of times with iconic album covers. It is part of whether the art is, it helps whether it's great music or crappy music, in my opinion. So what I'm going to interview on this series is different bands and album art. And I guess at some point I'll have an editor that can put this like nicely, succinctly in the corner, so I don't have to hold it up and swing it around. But again, we're talking about this artwork. So this is not a bad, in my opinion, not a bad album art. It's sparse, it's to the point. If this album had gone big like it was supposed to, this might have been a semi-iconic cover. Just pretty basic, just neon. But obviously the band's name, The Big and Star. Real basic black. It's not art per se, but you know, the idea is pretty creative. A lot of bands, you know, will have, especially first time albums, will have their faces on it. Not always the best thing in the world, but anyways. So this is pretty decent as far as art goes. And it's funny because it kind of mirrors the album. I will talk a little bit about the music. When this came out, these guys were supposed to be a big super group. Like, not a super group in a sense that you've heard of everybody's name before, but they were supposed to be, they were darlings. They were critical darlings. The music was like, this is a can't miss, greatest album of all time. In fact, I think there's other videos online talking about the greatest album you've never heard of. So we listened to the album also, me and some friends of mine, with that in mind. And it's different to listen to an album when you're not discovering it, you're more critiquing it. So we were a bit nitpicky, but the songs were not bad, they just were not great. And the weird thing about it, I think what they thought was a positive was that they managed to touch on all the types of genres that were going around at that time. They sounded a little bit like the Byrds at one point, and a little bit like the Stones or Beatles at another point, or a little bit like, you know, Crosby, Stills and Nash at some other point. They had all kinds of different things, and each song was a little bit, I just feel like the whole album was out of focus. Each song was a little bit out of focus. It didn't have a singular whatever idea or something like that, so you really couldn't fall in love with any of the songs. You were just like, oh, this is fine music, this would be perfect background music, like at some, you know, backstage, you know, if a real band got off stage and had a backstage party, you put this on. It doesn't distract from the conversations or, you know, the groupies or whatever you got going on at any party. This is just great, you know, background rock music. It's not going to offend anybody. It's not going to shock anybody. But very similar to the cover here. It's not going to offend anybody. It's not going to shock anybody. Had the music been better, the cover might have been an iconic piece of art or a memorable album cover. Not necessarily a piece of art like you'd hang it on your wall, but as far as album covers go, it could have really been something. But it just was not. And it's just so funny that they had the, you know, the chutzpah, or whatever you want to call it, gall, also, to call their band Big Star and to name their first album #1 record. It's kind of witty, but they did feel like that was their destiny. and it just didn't turn out that way. So there you go. There's my first one ever, Big Star, and hopefully, you know, maybe I'll do whole band series, all the band's albums, that type of thing. But we'll see how it goes from here. Thank you.